In an essay on the website Medium, the 44th president wrote, "Let's not excuse violence or rationalize it or participate in it. If we want our criminal justice system and American society at large to operate on a higher ethical code, then we have to model that code ourselves." Mr. Obama called the majority of protesters peaceful and said they deserve our respect and support. His message stands in stark contrast to President Trump, who has referred to protesters as thugs and continues to blame the country's unrest on the radical group Antifa. Caitlin Huey-Burns and Brittany Shepard join me now. Caitlin is a CBSN political reporter, and Brittany is a national politics reporter for Yahoo News. Welcome to you both. Brittany, let me start with you. This is the second time President Obama has been critical here of what we have seen out of the Trump administration in the past month. And President Obama spoke about a lack of leadership regarding the coronavirus pandemic. Why now? And do you expect to see more of this, particularly leading up to November?
Well, as far as why now, there's been a call time and time again, not just from protesters, not just from the Democratic Party, but from a lot of Americans for a sense of leadership and calm, not just during coronavirus, but of course after the killing of George Floyd. And Barack Obama is the most important African-American member of the Democratic Party, the first and only African-American president. He is pretty much the key messenger in order to speak to many Black Americans who are angry, who might be moved to incite violence right now. He's able to say, I know your experience, I've lived your experience, and put it in terms, in a way that he can empathize, and the other Democrats, namely Joe Biden, is not able to just because of their race and their experience. And I think you're going to hear Barack Obama get increasingly sharp in his criticisms of Trump. You hear from Democrats there's been an abdication of power at the White House. And when you're running for, election to cede that seat, unified messaging is really important. And we heard from Joe Biden twice today essentially echo what Obama said in his Medium post, that violence might not be the answer, but the only way to make systemic changes is to vote. And Democrats really need a section of swing voters or to inspire new voters to move the needle. Right now, Biden's only leading by about 5 to 7 points nationally, and even thinner in some states. So there needs to be some kind of call to action, and I believe Obama will be making that call time and time again.
So the former vice president met with local leaders in Wilmington, Delaware at Bethel AME Church on Monday. He promised to implement a number of changes if he's elected. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
And I will be setting up in the, we announced it ages ago, in the first 100 days, police oversight for coming out of the United States. What we did in our administration, that we set up in the Justice Department the ability for the Civil Rights Division to go in and look at the practices and policies of police departments. That's why we were able to stop and frisk and those, reestablish that with more teeth. Because we also have to fundamentally change the way in which police are trained.
So, Caitlin, what else did Joe Biden promise that he would do to address injustices and disparities impacting the African-American community?
Well, this was a significant campaign event for Biden because this is just the third time that we've seen him in public since stay-at-home orders went into effect a couple of months ago. Remember, he's been really relegated to campaigning from his home, trying to figure out ways to connect with voters. And I think today is with this meeting that he had in Wilmington with community leaders, I think was a chance to show a side of him and his campaign that doesn't necessarily translate through virtual and digital mediums. He was there to meet with community leaders, to listen and kind of take advice about how to move forward. And it was really interesting hearing from some of these leaders who were very direct with the former vice president, even though they have, many of them had longstanding relationships with him, were familiar with him. You heard from one state representative saying that even under the Obama administration, steps taken were not fully realized. And he said, look, we're here to love you, but we're also here to push you. And so during the Obama administration in 2014, Obama unveiled a task force to look at these kinds of issues related to police brutality. And so you did hear from people there saying that some of these programs are just not enough, and they haven't actually led to meaningful change. You also heard from people saying that one of the participants said that Biden should create some kind of czar or task force to look at these issues in his first 100 days. Now, we did hear from the former vice president saying that in his first 100 days, he would convene a police oversight board, and he also said that in the next couple of weeks he's going to be making a series of speeches talking about these issues and addressing them. And later in the day after this meeting, he had a virtual town hall with 4 city mayors, and they were talking about reforms that they would like to see. So I think right now he's establishing that he's listening, but we are told from him that more speeches on this and more action perhaps is to come.
Very quickly, in our final minute left, Brittany, President Trump has yet to address the actual grievances of the protesters. At this point, is there anything he could say that might resonate with people of color?
I think it's tough. I think the White House believes that doing listening sessions with Black leaders might be the beginning of a relationship to de-escalate what's going on. But I think what we're hearing from people on the ground that platitudes are not enough, and that's platitudes from Democrats and platitudes from Republicans. It's obvious that people are hurting, and when members of the Trump administration are going on television and saying they don't believe systemic racism to be a problem within policing, like that relationship isn't really starting off on a good foot. So I think a lot of rhetoric has to be unwound for there to be even a coming to the table. But I think the White House believes that even opening up the conversation is a good place to start. We just have to see if that lands.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns and Brittany Shepard, thanks to you both.